Zimbabwe's Agriculture Minister Perrance Shiri has died. This has been confirmed by President Emmerson Mnangagwa. Mnangagwa described Shiri, who once commanded the Zimbabwean Air Force, as a longtime friend, colleague and a true patriot who devoted his life to the liberation and service of his country. So Shiri was one of the military generals instrumental in removing former President Robert Mugabe from power in a 2017 coup and replacing him with Mnangagwa. According to local media, the 65-year-old succumbed to complications caused by COVID-19. Now let's go to Zimbabwe for the latest on Minister Perrance Shiri's passing. He was an ex-Air Force commander who headed an army unit accused of a notorious massacre in the early 1980s. Gukurahundi, SABC Correspondent Efert Musakiwa joins me now live from Harare. Efert, a very good evening to you. So Minister Shiri had been in isolation following the death of his personal driver due to COVID-19. Do we know anything more about the details relating to his death?
Well, good evening, Griselda. At this present moment, the government has not yet released information, or they have not indicated the cause of his death. But we do understand that he was tested early Monday when his personal driver, like you did indicate, passed on because of COVID. Then we understand yesterday he went into isolation. Then today we had the news that he had passed on. Up until now, we have not yet received whether it is actually COVID or it is another ailment that he succumbed to. But speculation is rife that it is indeed COVID-19.
All right, I guess we'll have to wait for that official confirmation. But Efert, let's take a look at the late minister. I mean, strangely, he was also a very close relative of the late former President Robert Mugabe, and subsequently one of the men behind his ousting.
Yes, indeed, he was related to the former president, and as you rightly say, he was also one of the generals that actually took part in the coup, or the so-called coup or not coup, which ousted the former president. He was very instrumental. He was the leader of the Air Force of Zimbabwe for close to 25 years, and you can imagine Mugabe only appointed people that he trusted, people that he believed in, people that he had confidence in. And this was one person that Mugabe actually had confidence that he would carry out, or he would be very loyal to Mugabe up to the end. But unfortunately, it wasn't so, because at the end, he's one of the people that turned against former President Robert Mugabe. You remember that Mugabe's rule, or Mugabe's hold on power, was mainly because of the military. The military element kept him in power for a long time, from as way back as 2008 up to 2017 when he was ousted. So really, he is a person who was very close to Mugabe and had managed to help Mugabe stay in power.
He also headed the army unit which was responsible for the massacre in the early 1980s. I mean, Efert, I'm sure there's mixed reaction on his passing. Depending on where in Zimbabwe you are, the feelings would be different, say, if you're in Harare and if you would be someone else in Matabeleland.
Yes, indeed, Griselda. The people in Matabeleland and Midlands, obviously, they have got, or they are getting some sense of relief. This is the man that they actually identify with the massacres that took place in the 80s. This is the man they blame, or they put the blame on, that because he was the one who was in charge of the 5th Brigade, which carried out the massacres in Matabeleland and Midlands. But coming to this other side of Zimbabwe, the Mashonaland, where he emanates from, people saw him as a hero, one of the liberators. This is a man whom we can basically describe as having two faces: one pre-independence, where he is actually a hero, and post-independence in Matabeleland, where he is actually a villain. So mixed reactions indeed, Griselda, depending where you're coming from. And you have already begun to see it on social media. You have people from Matabeleland actually tweeting, some celebrating, though it's an African to celebrate that. But you can get a sense of how the people are feeling, or some people believing that justice has finally been served.
Yeah, so today also Zimbabwe agreeing to pay $3.5 billion, I understand, in compensation to white farmers whose land was expropriated by the government to resettle black families. Many others are also saying this will be one of Minister Shiri's legacies, I'm told. He was someone who spearheaded a conversation for this to take place. Tell us a bit about that, Efert.
Well, remember when in 2017, when President Emmerson Mnangagwa took over, Shiri was appointed the agricultural minister. And one of the contentions in Zimbabwe has been the land issue, which has not been resolved. So when he became the land minister or the agriculture minister, he went about trying to re-engage with the former white farmers that had occupied the land before the land invasion. And there had been discussions about compensation, about working together, re-engagement, and he had actually managed to secure an agreement between him and the former white farmers so that they would be compensated for improvements that they had done on the farms. And this was actually, we saw that happening today, where there was a signing ceremony of this agreement which he actually spearheaded, or which he was heavily involved in. He had been very vocal about bringing back land to make sure that the agriculture sector becomes productive, to make sure that the agriculture sector actually takes the economy forward. So It is one of his legacies that he was actually pushing for and making sure that he will be remembered for that.
All right, a mixed legacy indeed. Thank you very much indeed. SABC News correspondent in Harare, Zimbabwe, Efert Musakiwa, joining us on the line. Let's move on.